Alright. Recording. Continuing. Here we go. Play. Continuing Viscera Claim Detail. This is still Evil Sign. Oh, man. Forgot to start the music. And actually, skip over, since I stopped it in the middle of the Colonel Bogey March. Moved it over, and now it's William Tell Orchard. So. Thought it was swishing. Is it? No, it is. I needed to make sure it was actually playing. My mouse has been double-clicking recently, so I am thinking about replacing it. But it does mean that because I clicked on the play pause button, it's possible it actually like started and then stopped instantly. So, yeah, I'm thinking about replacing it, and I know what I want to replace it with. I just haven't yet. Yeah, what I have right now is... I say Rocat. I think I've heard some people pronounce it Rocket. I mean, the logo features a cat, so I think emphasizing the cat in the name is appropriate. But I've had this thing for several years, and I'm thinking I'll go to their Cone XP, I think it's called. That looks like it should, let me have a lot of the features that I do want to keep. One of them being... the scroll wheel actually is not only rolling forward and back and is itself a button up and down, but also a button left and right. I do like that feature. Like for being just true, it's a snapping motion, but to scroll left and right that way on different things, I do like. So I don't want to give that up. But it has that. It also uses optical switches for the main button, which is very advantageous because, in theory, optical switches should not be able to have the bouncing that I'm experiencing now, because that bouncing is potentially like the switch itself mechanically bouncing and triggering multiple times. By being optical, that should not be possible, because you don't have something mechanical that is bouncing back and forth. It's a little bit easy to explain, I think, with like keyboard mechanical switches, because I know how the internals to that. I don't know that for mouse switches. But in keyboard switches, you do have two metal leads that are basically springs that are separated by the stem of the switch. And when you press the switch, a leg on the stem moves out of the way, so that now the two pieces of metal can come in contact, because they're springy, and so they want to be. Well, if they are bouncing, well, what can happen is they can start bouncing, so they'll actually make contact multiple times. And that's why keyboards do have some kind of debouncing, where it's like once it takes an input, it actually doesn't take another input for a certain amount of time. Which normally it's fast enough that it doesn't impact anyone. Like, it's not like you could be hitting the button so fast that the debounce is actually missing input. But yeah, there are optical switches, though. Like Razer uses some, and other kinds of switches that are not so mechanically reliant and therefore immune to bouncing, to double clicking. Sorry. That's right, that. So one thing I can talk about to help with the time project that I'll probably still not have done, not have it finished by the time this recording goes live. As I mentioned earlier, though, I've upgraded the cooling in my test system earlier as a previous part. Well, I decided to collect a whole bunch of data for that, and I probably already talked about this. It collects data that long ago, and it's just that slow to go through all the data. I mean, it's 64. If I remember correctly, I did 32 different recordings. Each recording is itself 2 hours long. Well, 2 hours 5 minutes long. So over 64 hours of data, and that actually doesn't matter too much. It's more so that it's 32 separate recordings. That means 32 different hardware configurations, software configurations, and test configurations. That takes a lot to go. But one things that I want to do with it, and I kind of have the data, it's just not that great for various reasons, is the cooler I put in there. Be Quiet Dark Rock 4, which I do like. There are certain things about it that annoy me, but what I wanted was a better cooler than the box cooler, which it is. And I wanted it to be quieter, which it most certainly is. Like, even when the thing's fully loaded, I can't hear it, which makes me so happy. And the cooling is also very good. The CPU is running much cooler than ever did the box cooler when under load. Well, heavy load. But one of the things, it comes with a single 135mm fan. It does also come, though, with the wire brackets, so you can mount an additional fan on there. And I decided, what the hell, why not? Got myself a second Be Quiet fan, put it on there, and collected data with just the 135mm fan, and collected data with both. Unfortunately, there is some stuff that kind of compromises the quality of that data. One is that it seems that the environmental temperature, I don't want to say ambient, I don't explain why, it seems that wasn't consistent between those two groups of tests I did. But the other, and this is the bigger thing that's really throwing it off, is the software that I use for collecting the data. The version I collected most of the data with, well, I collected all the data with that, then realized the problem, went back and collected what data I could with other software with a different version of software that's better. But that has also confounded some of them. Although it still does look like, from the data that I do have, that the second fan is useful, but only under worst case scenario. It seems that the when it is the most heavily loaded, is pulling the most power, is producing the most heat, that is when it makes a difference. But otherwise, no, it doesn't care. The second fan doesn't make a difference. But now that I have this data, have this experience, it allowed me to think then, okay, how would I actually want to do that test? And I have a plan. I have no idea when I will do it. Maybe that will be something I was talking in the previous part about, how I do kind of want to upgrade the CPU. Maybe I would wait until then, because I'd need to do some rewiring for my test. The test I haven't. Which, I found a way. Okay, so the way I'd want to test it is by controlling the fan speed. Because that is one thing that also does confound the results currently. It's because I have the two fans on a splitter, and they're both controlled the same way, and just tied to the CPU temperature. So it's only if the second fan keeps it from getting to the next trigger temperature, where it's like, oh, we're increasing the fan speed because you're now at 75 degrees instead of 74 degrees. Unless it's managing to prevent that cross from 74 to 75, it is not going to impact the speed, which is what determines noise levels and cooling efficiency effect. Well, if you use fixed fan speeds, that'll address it. And because I'm nuts, I would try to set it up so that I'm actually collecting So I would try to do across multiple fixed fans. Obviously not at the same time. But I have an idea of how I could do that. But I actually think what I would do first is more so the test that would be less potentially dangerous. Well, no, none of it would be dangerous, but less likely to lead to throttling. Is when in the test system, case for the test system is Cooler Master Q300L, which is a nice case, I like it. But it came with only one fan in it, a rear exhaust fan. The case itself, except for the side panels, is basically all mesh. So there's the potential for very easy airflow. The thing is, it's kind of passive airflow is how I would put it. Okay? Where it might get pulled in, but it also might not be. You know, it leaves a lot of just stagnant air, which stagnant air it doesn't cool, because it just keeps building up the heat right there. Imagine taking a blowtorch to some object, not metal, but just to one object, and only aiming the blowtorch in one position. That one position is going to heat up. Other positions on the object aren't, because they're not getting the direct heat. If you would have moved the blowtorch around, that would now have the heat move around, be more even, and also be lower overall. Because it's the same amount of energy being dumped in, but now it's being spread to more parts of the object. The reason I said not metal is because metal is enough of a conductor, it'll actually still heat up in those spots, unless you're getting very, very hot, and actually going past the conductivity. Which you can, and a blowtorch would do that, but I'm thinking, something easier, faster. I guess another way to put it would be like if you took a lit match, to paper in one spot. Yeah, that one spot will get hot and ignite. Paper's not a good conductor. But if you were to move it back and forth, it won't necessarily ignite, because it's not going to necessarily get hot enough anymore, because you're spreading out the thermal energy. Well, when I put in a couple spare fans that I had, oh my god, the impact was immediate and significant. Well, I've changed out those fans now to be from 120mm fans that were kind of loud and fast to a couple 140mm fans that are slower, but being larger, can move more air. I think it would be interesting to see at what point is the active air movement from those no longer making sense. So I would want to do the stepping where it's like 0 RPM, and then like the minimum speed, whatever that is, and you just keep going up and see, okay, at what point is the CPU no longer benefiting from this airflow? Now true, with the new cooler on there, it might not be as easy to see, but it should actually still be present, because there's enough distance between the cooler and the front of the case. Wow, I'm just everything wrong. There's no way I'm going to get another use out of this model. But so the test should still work even with this better cooler. Nope. It's like it's so... I can't take that. This one bends. So, yeah, I don't want to trust that as I walk. Yeah, I think that I have an idea for how I can do that test. It's not going to be the easy. It's not going to be something I can automate so well, but automate enough. And should for an interesting test, I think. And in theory, if I can find out like what the formula is for the air movement at a specific RPM, I could then actually figure out, okay, at this point, there's enough air movement that these fans make a difference. Above this, it's not. Because in theory, if I use different fans in there, but could know that, oh, let's just say I needed to move 50 cubic feet of air a minute, that's the point beyond which it's diminishing return. If I knew that to be the case, then any fans that I put in there, I would just need to tune to move that much. And it wouldn't matter. They could be 120mm fans, they could be 92mm, which would be fast and loud, but could do that, and if they move me enough, the film performance for the CPU should actually be the same. And that, I think, would be an interesting article, interesting experiment. And then I could repeat it. Well, repeat the process, but with the fans that are on the CPU. The trick there is I would want to separate them, most likely, so no longer have them on a splitter track. I guess it was just the sound of the shell. I am very glad that worked. I can throw that. Oh, no. Twitch? Chris, I just find it amusing. I'm not even sure if Twitch was really a thing when this game came out. Oh, yeah, it's over here. I'm actually not going to give it. So I can use that for any gore that's put out by the thing. And make more of those. I'm probably going to want to use those going. The bin. So one thing about about Twitch that reminded me, I wouldn't do it on Twitch, I'd do it on YouTube. With YouTube streaming, even though I've not done it for so long. But also, I want it to be the reason why I don't like doing the Twitch streaming is purely and completely because I'm ultimately going to put the video on YouTube anyway. Why not just put it in? But I do have an idea for a stream that for some would be boring and probably say, Jim, you shouldn't do that, but it's like, you think I care? No one watches these, why would I not want to do this? The idea I have, so I made, and I know I've talked about this, I have made an applet for going through performance data, video game performance data, okay? And what I also then did is went through all my old data to build it into the object files necessary for this applet to load it in. I think that could be an interesting stream to do, potentially, if I can find other people are interested. Like, do a stream just going through and talking any of the data that I have over the years from many years. And just, go through, okay, this is, here's the mean, the median, here's other stats that you don't see anywhere else. But, damn it. I really should have made sure that the mop was starting. I think it's over. Bucket. certainly share that I'd be doing it at a certain time, but maybe do it multiple times, just in case there's like a few people look at it, and then it's like, no, this is actually kind of neat, and then say, okay, I'm going to do it again, maybe get more. The only problem is really sharing, oh yeah, it's these games that I have performance data for. No, I don't have it for this other game that you wanted me to share performance data for, because I don't have it. But partly it's, I think my app is really cool, and I want to share that. And it's also the whole, I've now used it for 2 game reviews. I have data for 40 games. Yeah, why not see about finding a way to explore the data for those 40 games? So who knows, maybe I will actually be able to do that. There's one thing that's nice, because one reason I don't stream and haven't is because I don't trust my internet. Too many times I would do a stream and then it would just flake out on me. And even then, when I'm uploading, I should have an upload speed of about 11 megabit, and it'll flake out and go to like 5.5 or 3. I mean, it's like, yeah, I can't put up with that. Yeah, I'm gonna start. But the applet, streaming it would be more data than the heart rate monitor, but 1080p would still be, I mean, I could probably do 4K and have it be like 2 megabit if that. Okay, I mean, it's very clean. The applet is very clean, so it's going to be very easy to code. Some of the graphs would be busier, but actually the thing that would hurt it more so is just that it can take a while to render some of the graphs. I mean, there's a lot of data in some of these graphs. Like, hundreds of thousands of rows is possible for some of the, well, okay. For one recording, I can see it being tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands in the file. And typically there's multiple recordings together, because, it's like, oh, I'm recording the game at this hardware and software configuration at this location, and then this location, and then also at this location. That's all having to be handled at the same time. That adds up. And does make some of the graphs harder to render. So that would be a problem. But yeah, the actual stream itself, the encoding, and all that would be next to trivial. But I do think it could be fun to do. And something I can do with the, I could do with the data. I can't do that with the thermal data that I have, because it's like, no, I don't think I'm trying to get all that intro. I did make a tutorial video for it though, because you kind of need that. There are some features in, really both apps, that really you're not going to know how to use them. Well, the average viewer, average user wouldn't. Some would, because it's like they would just understand that, oh yeah, this is what's going on. So like one of the things that the whole, I don't have a stats background, and this is one of the ways that I showed it, is I was not aware when you have a distribution of real data, what the actual technical term is for the peaks and modes. Which actually makes sense, but I didn't know that. But, well, maybe I knew and then forgot, but saw something talking about that, talking about stats, and gave that term, and it's like, oh, that's what those are called. Okay, let me look it up. And I figure out how to add that to the applet. But I have it, I'm in the article, I'm writing it as peaks, not as mode. Because I think peaks is what the average person is going to know. But it's still labeled as mode in the applet itself, in the UI. So having a tutorial that explains that makes sense. Whereas for the average user, for somebody that knows that, oh yeah, the modes are those peaks, then no, they don't. But there's also, like how you can interact with some of the graphs that it's useful to have that. How you can interact with some of the stats as well. I should actually go a little easy on some cleaning up here because I need to know so much about it. And some of the I can't put those into a bin. That won't actually help them. It's like, this part I could, but a lot of these, this definitely, this is an entire bit. I might as well just carry this. I might get it. Good. I was not gonna visit. That stuff I can tell. Got it. Just realized I've turned on my light. I have a red light to let people know, hey, I'm recording, don't bother me. And it's still funny, the first time I had that, well, one of the first times I was using it, light is on, my brother comes up, just starts talking to me, and I'm pointing at the microphone, and he's just completely oblivious to it. Just not paying any attention. It's like, okay, fine, you don't live here, you don't understand about the light. Whatever. I'm pointing at the microphone. How do you not figure out I'm trying to say, it's on, shut up. Not. And actually... But yeah, it's just generally a good idea to turn that on whenever I'm actually doing anything on a mode. At least if it's anything that it's important that I not drop. So it's like yesterday, no. 2 days ago, I did this quasi-interview, video interview thing. Got what I wanted to do. Yeah, applied for a job. They wanted to. I actually got through the first phase, which is awesome. But it's not common. I mean, at least for my point of view. And it was like I applied on a Sunday. I heard back on Tuesday. Hey, we want you to do this thing. Cool. That's very uncommon. I also applied for another job on Sunday, and on Tuesday was told we don't want you. Okay. That also was very unusual. I'm so used to it being so much. I mean, hell, I'm so used to it. I wrote a book inspired by that page. Yeah, technically been 2 books, but I'm thinking more so about one. But yeah, this quasi-video interview thing was basically there's a service, Hire-Me, I think it was, And the idea is you, like, you know, given a question, and you have, I assume that the employer can set it. I had 3 minutes and 3 attempts. I could retry it twice, but to record my response. And then that would be, you know, shared with the people in HR or whoever to determine, okay, do we want to go to the next step? And it's like, it tries to introduce this as a, oh, well, it's this way, you know, you can have the, do this interview, but in the comfort of your own home. It's like, no, it's actually, you know, to make their lives easier, which I don't know. You know, because then they can watch these whenever they want, as opposed to needing to actually have a scheduled interview with me. It's like, I can't begrudge you anything from that. But, it's also the whole, yeah, but you want the interview question. This way I have to give a spontaneous answer to something. No, true, I had 30 seconds of prep time for recording, and I could do redo, but it's still, you know, that it's still pretty spontaneous. It's not like, you know, oh, I'm writing my cover letter and can spend an hour on that. And actually, when I write a fresh cover letter each time, and a lot of times it's actually an hour that I spend writing. And I'm not a slow writer, it's just, sometimes it takes it. Especially because, you know, have to go back and forth between what the listing says, what I have on my resume to make sure that, you know, everything gels, because, you know, the resume doesn't have everything. Can't really have everything. There's a lot of nuance or a lot of things that everybody does, not just yeah, it was an interesting experience, but that I turned on the light for, because, like, yeah, this is definitely not something. And for anyone wondering, did I like the experience? It was okay. Do I think it did a good job? Not necessarily, because, you know, like 3 minutes was some of what's going on there. Some of the questions, it's like, yeah, I need more. One of the last question, you know, the whole, is there anything else you want to share with them? It's like, yeah, I got one I could share. And did that. And it was like, I said the last word at 1 second left. Yeah. Hopefully it didn't get cut off. Like, it was that close. And what I was talking about, I actually grabbed the book I was just mentioning. Because it wasn't anything else I want to tell them about. And it's, I know that there are people that don't understand this, wouldn't be able to grasp this, because, like what I was talking about in the previous part about people just making certain assumptions and not testing them, really, just assuming that they are true. One example of that would be, and I know I've ranted and ranted about this before, how a lot of people in HR, if they see you're unemployed, they just summarily reject you. It doesn't matter. They don't give any consideration to why you're unemployed, what you've been doing while unemployed. No. It's just, oh, you're unemployed. There must be a reason for that. Therefore, we never want to talk to you. And it's like, no, that's completely unreasonable and inappropriate. It's like, you're paid to go through this stuff. Don't just throw people away because, oh, well, I think that there's a reason here. It's like, there are any number of ways that the reason is not valid. Like, just, oh, he's unemployed. We don't want to talk to him. That's now circular logic, because, like, well, because previous people didn't want to talk to me, you don't want to talk to me. And the next people won't want to talk to me because you didn't want to talk to me. And all the reasoning you have is because somebody before you didn't want to talk to me. That's not good reasoning. But, and I talked about it before, this topic. I brought it up again. That and some other stuff made me think about writing this book, because as I was also saying, it's like I heard back 2 days after applying to a job. It's like that's wild. I at one point asked myself the question of, okay, what would actually, because these are a job application or a question about a job listing, job application. That is an official business communication. That is, by definition, it is. And it's just the whole, can you imagine a situation where weeks or months to respond to an official business communication is acceptable? And what I thought of was, yeah, the letter had to travel between star systems. That would do it. And so then I wrote a book about that. Well, not really about that, but about it calls a courier that, that's what he does. Well, he carries more than just letters, but that's part of it. And by the way, yes, I do believe that letters would be, because I don't believe in the Star Trek subspace kind of stuff, where it's like, oh, we can just do, by putting the information into this other space channel thing, we can transmit its superluminal speeds that way. And there's apparently unlimited bandwidth available as well. How I described it in this sci-fi universe I have is that it's more like we have a means that we get some stuff to travel, some signals to travel that fast, but it's limited. There's only so much bandwidth there. So you can't actually just have everything and anything going traveling at that speed. So it becomes more efficient to actually still use letters. Think of it this way. So in the US at least, and I assume other places as well, we have, since the move to digital television broadcast, you have a lot of sub-channels now. And in some cases, like, you can have one channel. Like here we have, on channel 55, there is 6 channels on there. 55, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 55.1 will get the majority of the bandwidth for that channel. So that channel is just a set frequency, just like multiple streams in the same file that you're flipping between. But the total bandwidth, the total amount of data that can be spent on that channel is the same as if it would just, as when it was analog. So the same amount of information there. So 55, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 all look worse than 55.1 because there's only so much information and it's so much bandwidth available for transmitting information. So it's mainly to that first channel, the main one. That, I think, for the system I have in mind, I imagine for my sci-fi universe, that's a problem. That is a real problem there. That's like, you can't just transmit every single email you want or do Skype or something between the stars because there's limited bandwidth there for it. If you want to do it, fine, you're going to have to pay a lot. But for the most part, no, it's going to be asynchronous communication, as in letters. Also, part of it is the whole, you can have, a lot of, in space with spaceships, volume is not really an issue. Yeah, you do technically need to have the ability to have the materials to build a ship so large, but it's, you don't need to worry about, oh, well, we can't build an airplane this large because we can't make wings large enough to provide the lift to carry. It's like, yeah, but you're in space, there's no gravity anymore to be concerned with. You can't land the thing, but if it just stays in space, it's fine. You also don't have to worry about buoyancy as you do in a ship, in a naval ship, or something. So yeah, so long as you can basically build a sealed volume so that atmosphere doesn't, you can go as large as you want in space. So sure, we can, you could have a ship capable of carrying every single letter that the post office delivers in a year in space, and it wouldn't be a problem. I need to be stopping soon. Stop with that, actually. I'm just going to get rid of this and then grab the arc welder to bring that over into the room. Um, you know what? I just looked to see what time it is. I'm actually going to say it's lunchtime, basically. And I either have to do lunch now or wait until after the next part. It's like I'd rather wait because this is an even part. So the next part will be next part. So it makes no sense to do that now. All right. So that saved it. Yep. And yeah, just I shall see you next time. Not on The Price is Right, on There's a Community Tale.